There's a secret superpower inside this camera, and it's not 6K resolution, it's raw video. Hello, I'm George at Bigger Feet. Welcome back. Nice to see you again. This video is all about hacking the extreme capabilities of an already powerful camera. This is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. It's not the newest one they make. We've had these for a few years, but they still continue to give and surprise. One of my favorite features of this thing is actually not the 6K resolution or the high frame rates or any of that clever stuff. It's the raw video capabilities, because I'm basically a bad cinematographer. And so if I can screw up the exposure on a shot and then save it later, that's amazing news. It means I can concentrate a bit more on other facets of the work when I'm out shooting. And it recently occurred to me that you can actually go even further with the raw video settings than just saving a poorly exposed shot. You can create dynamic range that isn't there. Let's take a look at how. Here's a shot of me walking down the street outside the office, and I exposed it pretty well for the sky, so we've got the detail in the smoke there, and the sky is a nice blue color. But that means that the shadowy areas of the image are pretty dark. You might think, well, just boost the exposure or boost the lows or whatever, but you've got a limited amount of detail in that low range, and if you just raise it all, you get a muddy sort of grey thing. That's actually the technical term for it. And I don't want that. I want So I duplicate the footage, and I take this top layer, I create an alpha output so that it can be transparent where the highlights are. I'm going to take away all of those highlights, make them just bleed through to the image below. So what we're left with is a layer where we can just control the darkest parts of the image. And we're going to go into the camera raw settings and actually boost the ISO of the shot. Raw video saves multiple possible ISO values as part of the metadata in the camera. So unlike a regular shot where you lock in the exposure and you can't save stuff you missed later, with this you can actually boost the sensitivity of the sensor after the fact to bring back detail in those shadows. And now we've got a more properly exposed low range in this image as well. This kind of thing's super useful for interviews in front of a window where you want to see a great background, but the outdoors is much more brightly lit than the indoors. You can flood the subject with a lot of light, and it's still pretty hard to get them as bright as whatever is lit by the sun outside. We've done this on a bunch of things in the past. It's tough. So what if you can expose for the sky and then raise the value of the shadows, or vice versa? In these shots on a recent project, we basically exposed for the subject and accepted we would lose a bit of the bright stuff. But with this trick, we can isolate the bright stuff from the dark stuff. In this case, I'm using a magic mask to separate the subject from the background. And now we can lower the ISO on the outdoor stuff to bring back some of the highlights we were losing and grade it separately, make it look lovely. It's like cramming more dynamic range into the image. It's pretty cool, right? And just to check the extent of the capability of this technique, I went overboard with this. I stood right in front of a brightly lit window, exposed for outdoors, so it was really dark on me, the subject. And by separating the window highlights from the foreground subject stuff, boosting the dark stuff in the camera raw settings, I was able to bring back tons of detail and exposure so it looks like it's properly exposed in both parts of the image. And again, if we compare that to using exposure settings in the post-color grading process, we can improve things, but nowhere near as much as with the raw settings. It's so clever. Way to go, Blackmagic. Not sponsored, open to discussions though, for sure. So there you go. If you've got a particularly dynamic scene that you need to shoot in terms of lighting, where you just can't get the lights bright enough on your subject, or the sun to calm down, or the shadows to pop, maybe you can use a tip like this and try and just balance things out. We're going to be using this on a ton of stuff from now on. You're going to see a bunch of ridiculous HDR looking stuff coming out of Bigger Feet fairly soon, I expect. So keep it locked, and we'll be back again soon. Like and subscribe. See you next time.